Well, hello, studio teacher friends. Welcome to the Beyond Measure podcast, your weekly shout out of solidarity in the music teaching profession. My name is Christina Whitlock. I am your host and self appointed anytime piano teacher friend. If you have been searching for like minded teachers who embrace things like humility, curiosity, and the fact that we will never know it all, look no further because you have found him. Welcome to your people. Seriously, some of the best teachers from around the globe have rallied around this show, and we're so glad you're here with us today. So, without further delay, let's get on with the show. Have you ever tried to draw someone's face? Like, really tried to draw a human face? It's hard, right? Maybe you have like mad sketching skills, but I do not. Well, I had a real aha moment several years ago when I heard a professional artist reveal what he called the secret to drawing faces. He said, "You will never be able to draw a face if you look at it as a face." The secret, as described by this artist whose name I cannot recall, is to learn to unsee what you know. So, what we see as a human face, the artist sees as a collection of lines, curves, shadows, and light. The artist looks at anything and sees it for what it is made of, fundamental elements of drawing. They don't see a nose as a nose. Rather, they see the slope of the line that frames your nose. They see which parts of your nose collect the light. You get the idea? This artist said, "You will never be able to draw a face if you simply try to draw a face." When I heard this years ago, it really struck me because it made a lot of sense. I've always marveled at great artists and wondered how they could produce such lifelike drawings. And then I got it. Of course, those artists aren't just good at producing the end result. They are skilled observers, and they can look at an object and dissect it down into its most fundamental components. It made me wonder, how can we, as music teachers and as musicians, benefit from this art of unseeing? I've been asking myself this question for many years now, and I thought it was time to bring it to you. Now, to some extent, we do this in every lesson, right? We can tell a student that measure 17 isn't working, but that's not enough, right? We have to reduce measure 17 down into fundamental musical concepts so we can work on the specific thing that is not working. Is it the rhythm? Is it the finger choice? Is it a misinterpretation of the composer's intent? But so often, that is not unseeing enough, is it? When a student is having a rhythmic problem, for example, there are many other factors we need to consider. So we have to unsee the rhythmic error. Like, is there a technical issue gumming up the works? Does the student understand the meter? Is there something unusual in the way the notation is printed on the page that is making them do something strange? Like, there are just so many things we need to examine there, right? Well, there's obviously a lot I could say about that single instance. But that's what we do every day. So instead, my hope for today is to help you consider the art of unseeing as it pertains to the lesson experience as a whole. If an artist's first task is to see a subject not for what it actually is, but instead for the fundamental elements of what makes something look the way it does, I think we can all benefit from looking at the lesson experience for its more fundamental elements, which, of course, would beg the question, what are the fundamental elements of a music lesson? Now, each of us will have our own answers, so we will vary in our responses to this. So hear me, that is fine. That's great, in fact. My goals do not have to be your goals. But since I'm the one on the microphone here, let's use my list. So for me, I've decided a solid piano lesson is going to be made up of the following elements. There are 6 of them. Connection between teacher and student, technical development, aural development, analysis, notation, or score study. Lots of things fall under that category. Playing for challenge, and playing for enjoyment. So I feel like I should probably say those again. So I think every musical lesson should be comprised of the following things: connection between teacher and student, technical work, aural work, some kind of analysis like studying notation or score study or what have you, playing for challenge, and playing for enjoyment. Now, notice, I did not say my lesson experience is comprised of the following: scales, repertoire, sight reading, theory, and improvisation. It is possible to accomplish my list through those things, but it's also possible to focus on those things and not accomplish my personal list. Interesting, right? It doesn't flow both ways. Like, we can use scales to work technical facility and maybe some theory. Improvisation can work those aural skills. Repertoire can build analytical skills. And all of these things can provide students playing that is both challenging and enjoyable. But while the 2 lists can involve similar accomplishments, they are not the same. I think all piano teachers have done their time sweating over how to get through all the books and all of the skills and still have time for things like sight reading and theory and improvisation. It's often just not possible, friends. But do you know what is possible? My list. Again, ensuring that I connect with my students on a human level, working their fingers, working their ears, doing some kind of notation work or score study, making sure they've played something that challenges them, and making sure they play something that felt easy and enjoyable. Like, those are all doable things within the context of a single piano lesson. But here's the thing, getting there required me to unsee what I thought a piano lesson was supposed to look like. I did my best to boil the experience down into its most fundamental components, and that's what I came up with. For me. Again, your list can vary. That is fine. So, moving through a lesson book and a solos book and some historical literature and a theory worksheet can help a student get those fundamentals. But let's be clear about something. Those books and activities are not the fundamentals. Does that make sense? Our materials give us one way to teach those foundational elements, but they are not the foundational elements themselves. Like, you can give your student a Hanon exercise, but it does not mean they're learning anything about technical development. Your student can fill out all the note speller books they want and still struggle to name the notes in their pieces. Our materials provide a vehicle for our instruction, but it's still up to us to drive the thing. As Francis Clark is known to have said, the teacher is the method. For those of you who have been around a while, you know fully well how strongly I believe in using our materials to support our own instruction, rather than fitting our instruction around the materials we are using. I have several past episodes on reconsidering the lesson experience, and I also have a $29 resource that helps teachers make the most of their chosen method. I will link all of those things in today's show notes at christinawhitlock.com/episode 191. But as you can tell, I am on a mission to help teachers understand that a lesson can and should be more than passing pieces in their books. As I said a few weeks back in the Lego episode, we should be spending time every week at the instrument with nothing on the music stand at all. There is such a difference between teaching students to play the instrument and teaching students to play pieces. Now, yes, learning an instrument involves learning the repertoire, but the reverse is not inherently true. Like learning the repertoire does not always mean that you are learning the instrument. That's trippy, I know. So, as always, friends, this is just me giving you food for thought as to what unseeing the lesson experience can do for you. Isn't it freeing to know your lessons do not have to be a laundry list of tasks that you may or may not get done in a lesson? It's quite reasonable, for example, to find ways for a student to feel challenged in a lesson, while it's also reasonable to make sure there is something in the lesson that allows them to play simply for enjoyment. It's easy to work the fingers and the ears if you are intentional about doing so. Now, I don't know about you, but this approach to lessons feels so much kinder to myself than those lengthy lesson plans we've all gone rounds with making. Now, truth be told, I wanted to say a few things about how passing pieces does not always equate with mastering concepts, but time is ticking here on my short little show. So that is something I'm going to tackle in this week's One Thought Thursday e-letter. If you do not know, I send a weekly email to subscribers, giving them something to think about in teacher world for the week. This week, I will be publishing One Thought Thursday number 61. And again, we're going to be talking about this pesky realization that, quote, passing a piece does not mean a student has mastered its concepts. You can read all past installments of One Thought Thursday by heading to christinawhitlock.com/blog. And there you will also find ways to sign up to receive that letter straight to your inbox each week. For now, friends, I will leave you to considering your list of foundational lesson experiences. I would love to know what makes your list, so be sure to share it with me. Let's wrap up with a toast, shall we? Studio teacher friends from all around the world, today we raise our glasses and vow to put our brains to work to unsee the work we do every day. May we give careful consideration to these foundational elements of teaching so we can provide our students with the very best service possible. Cheers to you, my lifelong learning teacher friends. Hear, hear. That's what I have for you today, friends. Check out the show notes for today's episode at christinawhitlock.com/episode 191 for all kinds of things related to today's episode. I'll see you in your inboxes on Thursday and then back here again next week. In the meantime, this is me cheering you onward and upward.